Hey everybody, welcome back to One Seed, One World, and we're doing another episode today on the greenhouse build, talking a little bit about the install of the windows. So I have this whole front side done now, and I am now working along the back side. I have 11 more windows to finish to get installed in the back side, and then the big window at the back and two smaller windows at the front. But moving along, hopefully, depending on weather with rain and whatnot, I'm hoping to finish up over the next week. So to start off with using these recycled barn windows, and really I hope that if you're just thinking about building a greenhouse using recycled barn windows, this will give you an idea kind of some of the work that has to go into it, because it is a bit more labor intensive than just putting up the plastic like I have on the front and back. So first step when I go in or to start with these windows is to start sanding off the old paint. What I found with these windows, I think maybe one side was done or painted maybe with several coats versus the other side not so much. But what I'm finding is that one side sands off really easy, the other side takes a bit more work with the sander to work through the layers of paint that's on there. So I get that all sanded off and then chipping out all the old glazing putty that's in there. There's a couple of the windows that I kept the old putty because it seemed to be in pretty decent shape, but that was only one or two windows so far. Most of them I have to chip out all the old glazing, which sometimes can be a little bit tough, but get that all worked out. And then I've been using my shop vac to vacuum up the worst of that so I don't have like these bits of glazing everywhere. Then in some cases after I get that done, I will trim the window to fit, because they were all different sizes. Some of them came out a little small. They were already small because I built when I built the walls, when I put up the studs, I made them an average size based off of the size of the overall windows. But most of them were bigger, some were a little bit smaller. The smaller ones, I think maybe you could see here in this camera shot that there is some gaps around. That a lot of them were not square either. They were kind of bowed, so when I'm cutting them, it still doesn't come out quite right. But with the ones that have these larger gaps, I'll probably put some sort of maybe a little bit of foam insulation in there, or something to just, seal that off. And then I'll caulk around all just the outer edges of the windows as well. But after that's done with, then comes glazing the window, which I am not very good at this, especially at the beginning. Some of my windows looks like a toddler did the glazing, and that would probably be an insult to toddlers. I am not a professional glazer. Watched a bunch of videos on how to do it, and it still does not come out so great. However, in my last 2 or 3 windows that I did, I've kind of figured out how to roll it in my hands, get it worked out, and then once it's rolled out into kind of like a little mini snake that I can put along the edge, then I take the putty knife and mash it in, and then smooth it across and cut off any excess, and then just kind of work my way around each pane. I would have preferred if these did not have these cross pieces, which are called muntins, with the single pieces of glass or all these separate panes. I would have much preferred just one single piece of glass with a faux muntin in the middle, because then I would just have to glaze around the edge and not worry about all this individual pane glazing. But it is what it is. So it takes longer for each window. The glazing at least only has to be done on the inside part of the window. I don't have to worry about it on the outside where the muntins are, because that'll seal it off. Then after that, it's taping off the window so that I can start painting. Just using the blue painter's tape, and then I do a coat of the primer and on each side and around the edges, and then once that's all dried, then it gets a coat of the Valspar Storm Coat white paint is what I'm been using for this whole thing. Then once it's painted, move on into the install, and it's just fitting it in there and putting some screws in on either side or at all four corners. And one thing that I was originally going to do was also have 4 windows that had hinges where they would open. However, what I'm finding with these windows, because they're so old, they don't support the weight of hanging on hinges. At least the one that I started with, that I tried, when I put the hinges on and swung it open, the frame started to pull apart a little bit from the weight of all the glass in there. I'm thinking that I could probably still do it if I got some brackets to put in the corners of each of the windows to hold those frames together better to support that weight, but I don't know if I'm going to deal with that or not. So for right now, it's just getting the windows in, getting them all screwed in, and then once they're in, then it's just peeling off the painter's tape and moving on to the next window. Normally, in most cases, I'm doing 2 to 3 windows a day. That's gives me enough time to get each one of those steps done and letting paint to dry for each side, and then so it becomes dry enough where I can work with it and then do the install. So that is the basic gist of what's going on with these windows and how much work that it takes per window. So it is a bit time consuming. And then I've got to work around the weather, with painting and stuff. When it's raining and stuff, I can't really do any of that. And this afternoon, we're supposed to get some high winds, up to 40-mile-per-hour gusts. So I'm just trying to get this this last window finished up painting. I don't know if I'll get it installed today, but we're moving along, and soon we'll be moving on to the sealing of the windows, the trim. The trim that's going to go around the door, finish up the flooring. We've got the soffit along the edges will probably be one of the next things as well on the outside. And then eventually gutters. We've got an electrician coming to wire the whole thing. Anyway, thanks for checking out another episode of the Greenhouse Build. And please stay tuned and subscribe to our channel so you can check out our other content and keep up with this whole greenhouse build, because I've really got to get this done in the next 2 weeks, because I'm not necessarily the electrical part, but I need to get it all windows in and soffit and all that done, because I'm 2 weeks out from starting planting. April 1st is generally where I start all my seeds. The one cool thing that I did notice is that even with only half the windows in, there's already a temperature difference in here with just the roof and half the windows. It cuts down the wind, the sun's coming in, and it's several degrees warmer just standing inside the greenhouse than it is outside of it already. So that's kind of cool. Anyway, thanks again for stopping by. Subscribe to the channel, and whatever's going on in your neck of the woods and at your homesteads, your gardens, whatever projects you're working on, I hope it's gone fantastic for you, and we hope to see you again soon. Have a great day. Namaste.